It was really important for us, and it still is as we're building, to kind of keep the user in mind and see everything in the user's eyes. Looking at the landscape, I think it's obvious nowadays that, apps in the general sense, it's a pretty saturated market. There's thousands and thousands of apps. And when you're building something like BLURR, which is we're trying to remove all the friction from getting instant access to photos. So with that in mind, yes, of course, we took a look at the competitive landscape and we looked at apps for inspiration and a lot of things for inspiration, whether it be websites or just simple products. The whole goal and the whole vision behind building BLURR was kind of making it as simple as possible for the user to get these photos and take these photos, and that's something we've been true to the whole time. So our app, it's really built with simplicity in mind, and it's pretty minimalistic and kind of removing all the friction that it would take for a user to kind of interact and get access to photos or take photos. So we took a look at a ton of apps, and if you look at my phone, I have like hundreds of apps on my phone, just drawing inspiration from them. We have a big drawing board full of inspiration. So definitely took a look at competitors and different apps in the landscape. So you have to start with the idea of how you want your users to interact with it. And it's just going to the drawing board and kind of laying out what you want, the specifics. We work with designers to kind of get the wireframes, and it's a step-by-step process. It's obviously not built overnight. You get something and you take it to user groups, to test groups, and kind of see their feedback. You get the feedback, you rebuild, you kind of go back to the drawing board. So it's a multi-step process that we go through, and always it was really important for us, and it still is as we're building, to kind of keep the user in mind and see everything in the user's eyes. So it's kind of a fine line doing that, because you obviously want it to be great for the user, but at the same time, you want to give them a new experience, and it's something that they'll crave and they'll want to use. So it's a fine line of being like having the user in mind firsthand, and also giving people something that they didn't know they already wanted. So it's kind of the creative balance of building something fresh and new, and also making it minimalistic and simplistic for everybody to use. We obviously segment it to different demographics, and I mean we started in the college space. Great thing about LA now is there's a ton of universities and college students here, so we find them, we try to vary it and see different students, for example, that are in different social circles, or different individuals that would use it for different use cases, and we try to get them all under one roof to kind of get a full scale perspective and feedback of how they use the product. There's definitely a difference between the variation of how people use it. I think that we like to say that BLURR has no boundaries. So as you said, and as I alluded to, there's really there's a whole bunch of events, and any use case that you can use BLURR for, whether it's a birthday party or an alumni gathering, or whether it be a concert, a festival. It's endless. So there's a lot of events, but we see that with the younger demographic, there's a bit more frequent use case. They attend more events and they're more social gatherings, whereas somebody in their 40s or their 50s using BLURR, they still get the same great utility and value out of it, but they use it less frequently. But it's still, at the same time, it's a great service for them. Honestly, there was some there was some variation in their responses, but at the end of the day, I think people just want something to be simple. They don't want overcomplication, and they don't want too many things going on at once. So we saw with everybody that they wanted it to be simple, not too many steps involved, no friction really in using it. So they just wanted to know, once you take a picture, where does it go, who can see it, and what can I do with it? And that was everybody across the board. And that's something that's that's what I'm saying is so valuable in building something and then getting the feedback for it. Because say you're building something and you have so many ideas about imagining how people would interact with it, and then you present it to them and they're like, what the hell is this? So it's like you draw something, but you want it to be received well by people, which is I can't emphasize enough how important it is to, you know, obviously use your creative mind and build something that you imagine and you feel within you, but also be realistic with yourself and take it to the target market and see how they respond.